Hello and welcome to this sunset session focusing on Nigeria, our case study of an NEE or newly emerging economy. So in this sunset session, what you're going to do is just a few activities that are going to test your knowledge of the Nigeria topic. And then you're going to take the opportunity to kind of build on that knowledge and self-assess your answers to the activities. And it's important to point out that the key knowledge for the Nigeria topic, but also all of your topics in the geography course and again across the whole of school are on your knowledge organizers. So the reason why you've been given knowledge organizers is because they're really important in terms of giving you the key knowledge that you need for each topic that you are currently studying. But when we think about Nigeria, there's generally three sections that we need to be concerned with. So three kinds of sections of key knowledge. The first one is Nigeria's history and kind of background as an NEE. So a newly emerging economy. Remember, that is a country that is beginning to industrialize, where quality of life and standard of living are starting to improve. So you need to know a little bit about the location and importance of the country, both regionally, so within the West African region, but also globally, their importance to other countries and other companies around the world. There's the political, social, cultural, and environmental context. So thinking about the history of people in Nigeria, but also the cultures, the histories, and the environment or the physical geography that you might find there. Its industrial structure, so there's a link to our changing UK economy topic there in terms of looking at how many people are working in the primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary sector. Remember, Nigeria is an NEE, so has a nearly balanced economy with the same amount of people, roughly just over 30% working in each of the primary, secondary, and tertiary sector, with a few people in the quaternary sector, about 5%. And then the next section is all focused on transnational corporations, or TNCs. Our case study is Shell, which we know presents lots of opportunities and challenges for the people and environment of Nigeria. But there's also a section on political and trading relationships within the wider world. Because of the new large manufacturing base and also its membership of OPEC as a petroleum exporting country, Nigeria has lots of links to certain countries. So, for example, China are developing infrastructure in the country, but also organizations such as the African Union, which we can think of the equivalent of the European Union. So a group of countries working together to promote sustainable development in their regions, and also smaller, more regional organizations like ECOWAS, who again promote that economic development in the region of West Africa. And finally, we can think about international aid and the developmental state of the country. So Nigeria receives a lot of aid from other countries, HICs, in the form of money, but also in the form of resources. So one example there, 60 million mosquito nets were distributed by the NGO, or non-governmental organization, Nets for Life. And that all has an impact on development. So the context, the political, social, cultural, and environmental context, the TNC, so Unilever and Shell, and those trading links and relationships with the rest of the world all impact the development, standard of living, and quality of life of Nigeria. So for this sunset masterclass, the teaching slides are done, but the working slides will be in black, and the assessment slides, where you have a mark scheme or criteria to mark your answers, will be in green. So the first activity for you to do is all about the key words. So when we talk about Nigeria and we focus on our core knowledge, it's important that we have a good base of vocabulary to utilize so that we can confidently talk and write about Nigeria. So to thinking about those reading, writing, and oracy skills. So the first activity for you to do is to pause the video and try and write a definition for each of these really important keywords when we think about Nigeria. So they're West Africa, newly emerging economy, ethnic groups, Nollywood, manufacturing, crude oil, export, multiplier effect, transnational corporations, and ECOWAS. Now, it's important that you try and do this as speedily as possible. So there's about 12 words there. So I want you to pause the video, spend 30 seconds on each word, trying to write your own definition. Try and be as concise, but also very clear with what each individual word means. So give yourself 6 minutes just to write a definition for each of those words. So pause the video now. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go to define all of those keywords. And we're going to go through what those keywords mean, kind of the key knowledge that you would need about that vocabulary. So West Africa is the western part of Africa. That bit's pretty self-explanatory. But it includes Nigeria and its neighbours, Benin, Cameroon, but also other countries such as Ghana and Ivory Coast. A newly emerging economy, we've already mentioned, is a country that's recently industrialised and is still becoming more wealthy. Ethnic groups, those are distinct groups who identify with each other on the basis of shared attributes. And those attributes distinguish them from other groups. So, for example, the Igbo and Yoruba tribe are both from Nigeria, but they have a difference in terms of language and some of their cultural practices. Nollywood. So Nollywood is the Nigerian film industry. It's really important for the Nigerian economy, but also the cultural context. And if you want a little bit of a break from work, go and watch a few minutes of Nollywood. It is brilliant. But it's important to note that Nollywood is actually the second largest film industry in the world, second only to Bollywood in India, and actually beats Hollywood from the USA. Manufacturing is all about making products from raw materials, and that's something that is starting to develop in Nigeria quite rapidly. So Volkswagen in Lagos, and their manufacturing plant is our example. Crude oil. So crude oil is oil in its unrefined form. So crude oil as you take it out of the ground. And remember, crude oil in Nigeria is nicknamed sweet oil because it is so good. Export. So an export is the sale and transit of goods out of a country. That could be physical goods, but it can also be less physical or immaterial things. So things like financial services or telecommunications. So Nigeria has a lot of financial services or people working in financial services in the tertiary and quaternary sector, but also call centers in the service sector as well. The multiplier effect. So when they built that Volkswagen factory in Lagos, it led to the multiplier effect. And that was when a positive change happens, i.e. the building of that manufacturing plant, which then had a knock-on effect on other businesses. So for example, the new factory opened and that led to an increase in lunchtime sandwich sales at the local cafe and more bus passengers. So it's all about the indirect benefit, not only just for the people who are working in the factory, but their families and local businesses surrounding. Transnational corporations, again, company that operates in many different countries. Unilever and Shell are examples in Nigeria, but 40 TNCs at least work in Nigeria. Finally, international aid. So international aid or aid is money or resources given by a HIC. So the UK donates a lot of aid to Nigeria, to a low-income country, to help with development in all of its forms, whether that be social development, so improving education, or economic development in terms of improving trade. Okay, so the next and final activity for you to do is just some very quick knowledge retrieval. So there are 11 questions here and they are designed to be quite quick. It's really important that you have a go at these first without looking back so that you're trying to pull those questions from your long-term memory, because if you answer them and you guess slightly wrong or you miss a bit of information and then you go back and retrieve that information, your brain is more likely to remember the mistakes you made and therefore the information when you test yourself next time. So there's 11 questions there. Again, I'm going to say about 30 seconds, so just under 6 minutes this time. So pause the video and attempt the questions without looking back for 5.5 minutes now. Okay, and finally, the answers. So don't worry if you did not do very well on those questions. Yeah, the Nigeria topic is something that you did a long time ago, but what's important at this is that we constantly revisit it. So by doing this sunset session, you're revisiting it. We'll also revisit it in form and intervention. So number one, where's Nigeria? Well, it's in West Africa, near the equator, and it borders Benin, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. Number two, the population is 184 million people. And in terms of its characteristics, it's actually a very youthful population, one of the youngest populations on average in the world. I think the median age is just below 20. So lots of young, economically active people in Nigeria. Number three, there are over 500 ethnic groups such as the Yoruba and Igbo. So that's an opportunity in terms of that diversity. But Boko Haram, a fundamentalist terrorist group, have caused conflict. So they are a group that stemmed from Al Qaeda, but still caused significant conflict. So recently, very famous kidnappings of young schoolgirls. Number four, so in terms of a standard of living, 65% of the population live on less than $1.25 a day. So we can say that lots of Nigerians live in extreme poverty or below the poverty line. Number five, in terms of the industrial structure, so money earned from services, and most of the money is earned from services, 52%. 7% of the money is earned from manufacturing, and 22% from agriculture. But that just shows the importance and the value of the tertiary sector. So as a country gets more developed, more of its GDP, its gross domestic product, will come from the tertiary sector. Number six, Shell directly employs 65,000 people, but indirectly employs 250,000 people. So remember, there are people such as people that own petrol stations that will provide fuel for the Shell transports, but don't necessarily wear the Shell uniform. They're not directly employed by Shell. Number seven, in terms of environmental issues, or issues in terms of development. So environmental issues, there's oil spills, oil flares, and the toxic fumes that come from gas leaks, militant groups disrupting supplies, oil theft, and sabotage by organised criminals. Number eight, ECOWAS is the Economic Community of West African States, and they work together to support development in West Africa. Number nine, between 2009 and 2013, an example of impact of aid, 60 million mosquito nets were distributed by Nets for Life. Number 10, three environmental impacts, oil spills, air pollution, and water pollution. Remember, when you talk about pollution, it's really important to specify which. Is it air pollution? Is it water pollution? Is it waste pollution? Number 11, so there are large differences between the north and south of Nigeria, but also large differences between rural and urban Nigeria. And those are differences in terms of quality of life and standard of living. There are also issues in terms of people being educated and uneducated, again, exacerbated by those rural and urban divides. There are also lack of access to safe water, sanitation, and reliable electricity supply. And a really important one, oil wealth is not used effectively. So massive corruption in Nigeria, with the government not using the money that's gained from oil for top-down development. There's also an overdependence on oil, which might become an issue as oil prices fall. New technologies such as fracking and the automobile industry moves toward electrification. So that's the end of the sunset session. So I hope that you had got those activities. And I just want to go back to the knowledge organizer because you can kind of test yourself on any of these sections. So a brilliant revision activity is to pick a title, a lesson title. You might pick the location and importance of the country of Nigeria regionally and globally, and just write down everything you can remember. It doesn't matter if it's a few sentences or if it's paragraphs. What's important is that you come back to the key knowledge or knowledge organizer and green pen. Well done for taking part in this sunset session, and enjoy the rest of your evening.